Hello, I'm John Hemingway. Welcome back to sunny Shropshire. Just look at it. What a day to be alive. Now, we're into lambing, so I thought it would be a good time to talk about milk. Now, we all know about milk. We know how good it is, but when it comes to milk, the humble sheep does not get the recognition it deserves. Sheep's milk is absolute white gold. 7% fat, 5.5% protein. It is rocket fuel. Just look at these two tubes of milk. Let's say the green one is sheep's milk and the red one is cow's milk. They contain the same number of calories. That is how energy dense sheep's milk is. So, here are 5 things you should know about lactation. Lactation effectively begins before lambing. Now this is because most of the udder development happens in late pregnancy and not after lambing. As a result of that, if your late pregnancy nutrition is not absolutely on point, you could get reduced udder development at the end of pregnancy, and that's going to affect your yield going forward. When we're coming up to 3 weeks before lambing, your vet can blood sample just a handful of ewes and look at their energy and protein status. This is what they call metabolic profiling. It's very cheap and it's very quick. If you get good results, that means that those ewes are on course to have good birth weights, to have good colostrum quality and good milk yield. If the results are not as you hoped, you've still got 3 weeks to try and push things in the right direction before you start lambing. Colostrum is amazing. The amount of good stuff in colostrum is unreal. It is your lamb's entire immune system for the first 6 weeks of life, so it's pretty important that they get as much as possible. How much do they need? Well, 50 mils for every 1 kilo birth weight in the first 6 hours, followed by 4 times that in the first 24 hours. So, for example, a 5 kilogram lamb would need 250 mils of colostrum in its first 6 hours and 1 litre in the first day of life. Those are the figures, that's what they need, that is non-negotiable. Peak lactation in sheep comes on very, very quickly. It's just 2 to 3 weeks after lambing. Now, why is that relevant? Well, you see that the energy requirements at peak lactation are just as high, if not higher, than they were at the end of pregnancy. Generally, in lactation, it's easier for the ewe to satisfy those requirements because once the lambs are out, the amount that she can eat every day increases quite quickly. However, in a lot of situations, to get that peak lactation and fulfill those requirements for energy and protein, it's still going to be necessary to supplement. This is especially true if your ewes are still housed at this time. How do you know how much to supplement? Well, of course, you do a proper forage analysis. Don't be sniffing your silage, we have talked about this. Mastitis in sheep is a horrible disease and it's a big topic and it's complex, but one of the risk factors for mastitis in sheep is having a low milk yield. This is applicable for ewes really that have either twins or triplets. If they're not yielding as well as they should, those lambs are going to oversuck, and that's going to damage the T10s, allowing bugs to get in, subsequently ending up in mastitis. That's not the only reason sheep can get mastitis. It's definitely not the whole topic, but it is certainly a considerable risk factor. Now, with the severity of mastitis in sheep, the likelihood that that side of the udder won't come back to function, that lactation, and the fact that you shouldn't keep them on as a breeding animal, it's really important that we minimise the number of mastitis cases we have every year. We do see trends with mastitis. We see certain years where we have more mastitis across the board than others, and that tends to coincide with years where the forage quality was not as good. As a result, the milk yield has not been as good, more damage to the T10s from lambs sucking more vigorously, ending up in mastitis. Knowing when to end the lactation is very, very important. Some people will be tempted to extend the lactation because they think the lambs haven't grown enough, but actually extending that lactation over 12 weeks or so is not doing anybody any favours. By the time lambs are 12 weeks old, they're essentially fully ruminant. They're keeping the ewes in milk, but they're not really getting a great deal of nutrition from that milk compared to what they're having from the grass. What they are doing is competing with the ewes for grass in that field, and at that point you have to see them as part of your overall stocking density, not just lambs that are on the ewes. If we choose to extend the lactation beyond 12 weeks, we are shortening that rest period that the ewe has, the only time she has to put condition back on before she goes to the top, get on a rising plane of nutrition, have a good conception rate, and the maximum number of lambs for next year's crop. So actually, in extending our weaning period beyond where we need to, we can be affecting our profitability 12 months from now. So those are my 5 key points on lactation. I hope you've enjoyed listening to them. I'll be along with another video very soon and I hope to see you there.